Hi, John.
Hey,
You know what I hate?
what's that?
I hate that we forgot to buy 8 months worth of provisions
Yeah,
before we started this episode.
no, that
because
sucks.
You know that salt circle that I completed as you entered in my apartment?
Yeah,
Yeah, that wasn't for slugs.
I thought it was to seal in the flavor.
Yeah, the flavor of a dark song. Never before has a movie so blatantly ripped off the TV show Supernatural. I am offended.
Really?
Oh, salt circles, there's all this pentagram stuff directly from the TV show.
Oh, they invented that, huh?
Supernatural, as far as I'm aware.
I was not aware. I didn't watch the shows. This all seemed new to me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everything from that stuff I just named to me showing my limited knowledge of the TV show Supernatural.
There being characters in it?
Yes. One might be named Sam.
Nope.
And the other one is Dean.
Yeah. Neither are in this movie.
Really?
There's a demon.
Wait, what about the lead lady?
Sophia.
I'm pretty sure her name's Dean.
No, it's Sophia.
So let me be frank with the audience here.
Can I still be John? Sorry.
No. I actually paused there to see if you would dad joke that.
Yeah, I had to.
I, in my outside life, host a show called the Alexx Cast, alexcast.com. I never remember to plug. But I'm interested in the occult and things like this. So I know like some stuff about some stuff.
That's why I suggested this movie.
Yes. And it is a good suggestion because, boy, there's a lot of stuff. I didn't realize, like, the ritual in here is a ritual I've known about for a while, and we can get into that a little bit. But, or we can get into a lot. I don't fucking care. I'm not trying to tell you how to run this show.
Sure.
However, her name being Sophia is problematic for someone like me.
Sure.
So there's a sect that was around Jesus at times, Jesus-y times, around there, called the Gnostics. You've probably heard that term before.
Yep.
One of the important kind of deity structures in Gnosticism is Sophia. She's like kind of the main lady. She essentially, long story short, she had sex with her own dad, birthed this malformed demon weirdo baby, and that's
the demiurge.
The demiurge, exactly. That's Yahweh from the Jews and that later birthed baby Jesus. So her name being Sophia is a little like a little like for people that like know about this stuff, a little on the nose.
Right. Like if you spoke Dutch and you're like, Darth Vader, that's Dark Father.
Exactly.
What is that surprise?
Yes. Yeah. And this one's not as bothersome because I'm sure it's just the name that he chose, but him being Mr. Solomon is, oh boy, that's a little on the nose too. And by the way, I like this movie, but there was some kind of and I get it, they're talking to the normies, but there's a little bit of that, that's a really great example of.
No, I only know Sophia because of that. I think I even lent this to you once. That The Wrestler's Cruel Study, this book by Stephen Dobbins, which I enjoy immensely.
Yes,
yeah. Well, there's a gang of Gnostic bikers, and they're driving around throwing bricks through windows, yelling "Fuck you, Sophia."
Oh, that's exactly right.
That's the only reason I know that. But the Solomon thing, I'm sure it had. I mean, other than I know King Solomon from the Bible. But I just went, yeah, that's probably somebody. I don't know.
Yeah. So the Solomonic magic is the form of magic that talks to angels. That's the reference point.
See, no idea.
I'm pretty sure he's just calling himself that, like if you were a wrestler in Dragon Ball Z and you called yourself Mr. Satan, you're not actually Satan.
That great touch point of when you're a wrestler in Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
I mean,
we've all spent a whole bunch of time waiting for Goku to show up.
I went through 8th grade. You went through 8th grade. I assume at some point you spent a significant time as an animated character in Japan.
That's true. I forgot about that. Tried to block that part of my life.
I don't really mind her name being Sophia, but it's a little like, ugh.
Well, so the whole reason we're even talking about this is this movie deals heavily with occult rituals.
Yes.
And figures in such.
One specifically, and let me get this out of the way, because then I'm pretty much going to be spent on things I know about. What John and I discussed before the show, revolving around the fact that I'm a book nerd, is I don't know how to say most things out loud, but the Abramelin.
Yep.
The Carnegie Mellon ritual that they perform in this is a famous one. So A famous one so much to the point that some people at home probably may have heard of this. Aleister Crowley, famous occultist. You've probably even heard of him.
Oh yeah.
Not like you're some idiot, but I mean like it's not like you go home and read fucking occult books. But I mean that guy's like more famous than famous. So he bought a house on Loch Ness, famous for its monster, yes, and to perform this ritual. In the same way that she rented this house. That whatever it was a fortuitous the way it faced or whatever whatever the nonsense is. And he was called away during the ritual, and apparently that let demons loose in the house, and it became dumb. This. Yes.
Why did he do that?
Well, the leader of the Golden Dawn, the kind of religion he belonged to put a way too fine a point on it, basically said, "Hey, can you come back to London?" It's basically the Pope going like, "Hey, come back to Rome," and so he went, and it left all these demons open. So that the kind of point of background material here is that this whole movie, for someone that's like kind of in the know, it's not like they stuck directly. It's not like they told you the recipe for it, but shit, this was actually really close to actual like ritual, which was for me fucking cool because you don't see that. Usually it's like joking around with supernatural. Like usually it's that kind of shit where it's just kind of nonsense pop culture.
Well, this is a movie
style. Yeah.
The plot of this movie is this woman hires this dude to do a ritual. And while that would be, in so many other cases, just like a montage, and then like that would, we ended up rising up some demon and here's the rest of the movie, it's this microcosm. It's her doing the ritual, which takes months and months and months and months. And I just thought that was kind of compelling. Yeah. And that sort of, that also idea that made me think of that DC character, Constantine. Just the fact that like these rituals are these endeavors. It's not just like Doctor Strange, wave your hands a few times and say something, but it's like a whole thing.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just very interesting.
Yeah, totally. I love that they went into, so part of kind of any ritual stuff, like if you're actually doing it, there's usually like some kind of fast or like bodily purification that happens. And I love how much they went into this, which it's maybe I'm just nerding out, but it's like I guess it's like car guys when they see a cool car. Yeah. For me, I'm just like, oh, you're actually talking about eminences. Like you're purifying your body by vomiting, by eating a semi-poisonous toadstool. Like that's awesome. I get to see it on screen.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's like, I don't care if they do it right, but I hate on, you see this a lot on like TV shows or whatever, where someone is like, oh, I've got an Xbox controller, but you hear 8-bit sounds coming out of the TV. And you're like, what the hell is that about? It sounds like you're playing Atari with an Xbox controller. So to actually see it done right, it's the same thing. Like getting through other worlds versus playing the right game.
No, I got it. I'm just trying to you called Atari 8-bit and it's not really accurate.
Well, no, but I got those are two separate thoughts. But yeah.
Yeah, you having two separate thoughts, sure.
Yeah, lower res was all I was getting.
Yeah, no, I got you. She rents out to the house, hires this dude, and this is where some of my confusion with the film is. And I texted you last night about this, that I'm not entirely sure what the fuck happened in this movie, which I think is purposeful and good, but she hires this guy, or tries to hire this guy under false pretenses, saying...
Essentially. So the movie starts with her just renting this house. Like, before the credits come up, she's looking at this fancy house, and like, it's like, which way does this room face? It's west. Great. I'll buy it. And then it's her meeting this guy. This movie, kind of like the last movie we did, parses out information very occasionally. It's very, very measured in how it does it. And she hires this dude to do a ritual. And you're not clear what that is exactly at first. And I love like the act. So it's mainly these two actors throughout the whole thing. Joseph Solomon, played by Steve Oram, and then Catherine Walker plays Sophia. The movie is basically the two of them. Like, that's it. But she hires him, and he is just this schlubby guy. He's eating fries with a knife and fork at the beginning of the movie, which I found very off-putting. But as you watch the movie, it's very fitting with his character. He's just a weird dude.
Yeah, he reminds me of Pig Vomit from Howard Stern.
Paul Giamatti?
Oh, sure. I had Steve Buscemi stuck in my head, and I'm like, 100% sure that's not him.
Buggy eyes, same thing.
Yes,
yeah.
But he's got a very Paul Giamatti vibe, where just this kind of like, slouchy.
He's great. He's really great in this Ben Wheatley movie called Sightseers. But anyway, she hires him to do some ritual.
Well, she hires him to go check out the house.
Is
the pretense. And he's like, well, what do you need this for? And she said, well, I lost a love and I need to get it back, or whatever. That was like her first line.
Yeah. And he's
Yeah.
like, we're not doing this for that. Like, we're not, you want to do the Abramelin to get love. That's like asking, essentially it's like asking a Titan to decorate a cake. But he says it weird, like a Titian or something like that, to decorate a cake. Like it's this, you want this all powerful thing to do that. And then she's like, okay. She's like, nope, forget it. I'm not doing it. She's like, okay, wait, I'll give you a ton of money. He's like, no, you don't get it. It's not right. It's
yeah,
also
like, it's not about the money. It's not important. Blah,
yeah,
blah, blah. Yeah.
but then she's like, well, it's my son. I lost my son. I want to see my son. And he's like, all right, that's worth getting up in the morning for. My favorite part of this, though, is in that exchange, he's like, oh, the Abramelin, I've done it 3 times.
Oh, I was about to bring this
Once
up.
it worked, twice it didn't. And she's like, what? And he's like, I was younger. And
Well,
you need the right person.
Wait. Oh, maybe I misheard because I thought he said once it worked, once it didn't.
Mm-mm.
Oh, he did say twice.
Twice it didn't.
Okay,
Yeah.
not nearly as mysterious because oh, okay. See, I had heard that as once it worked, once it didn't. I went, wait, that's what? Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the movie does a decent enough job in questioning whether or not he's just kind of a charlatan. Because he's an abusive asshole. For a while anyway, it's unclear as whether this is actually working or not, or whether he's just a big weirdo.
Yeah, I do like the way they slowly play that, and also I like the way they. I want to be careful about the way I say this. Yes, I think there's one case of him actually being an abusive asshole,
Mm-hmm.
but then the other stuff, if he is legit, it's more like a samurai master, you
Right.
know, like breaking like that scene in Kill Bill where like the guy
Mhm.
with the big mustache is training her and
Right.
she's like, this is my arm now, I own this arm, and he knows what would happen if she lies or things go wrong and like how badly shit can go. So like
Yes.
he needs to be that much of a dick, or he's a shyster. And I love the kind of the wire they walk on that.
And they don't do it so they don't underline it that much. Like it's all there. It's ever present, but I don't think the movie itself is hinged on that moment. It's hinged on that basic question. I think it's a part of the whole thing, but it's not like, well, is it real or isn't it? It's just about these two people.
Yeah, and there's an interesting thing with, I mean, not just magic stuff, but I mean, with a lot of shit is that whole fake it till you make it thing, where obviously this guy knows his shit enough to have like cool notebooks full of stuff, and he's using the right words and saying the stuff. So it's like, well, can you fake your way into something real? As another kind of read of it is like,
Yeah.
she's so invested in it that even if it is kind of horseshit, it can be this kind of power of, you know, I don't want to say positive thing, but you get the idea. Like this,
sort of a mental placebo effect.
Yeah.
Which is I get every time I listen to the band Placebo.
So,
But I always like he always calls her posh, and I always like that as an insult.
yes.
That he's like, you posh girls, you just want to get love. This is dumb. I don't know. I always just like posh as an insult. Just an aside.
I
But
like scarier baby as an insult better.
scarier baby.
Yeah. The other spice.
No, I got it.
Yeah,
I was hearing like a baby that is scarier than
Yeah.
an average baby.
Oh, like the one later in this movie.
Like the one yes.
By the way, that's the most terrifying scene of a girl sitting next to a door that could ever fucking happen in the universe.
No, that was great.
We should touch on, so before they get to, you know, she's talked him into it basically by saying, getting my son back.
Mhm.
But there's this touchstone moment that I don't think, I wish this had come back a little stronger when she runs into her, I think it was her sister or a
Mhm.
really good friend, or it was her sister, right?
Mhm.
Where she brings up the fact that she's done a stint in the mental home.
Yeah.
And there's the other side of the kind of the pressure duality between her and Solomon is the whole thing of, it needs to be honest, you're not telling me something, you're not telling me something. And she never tells him about that either.
Mhm.
So there's this kind of, is he a huckster? Is she not telling enough to allow this to work? I just kind of wish they went back to it a little bit more. And
Sure. Well, there's a couple of moments of sort of not necessarily lying, but like withholding information on both sides.
Yeah.
That make you wonder if this whole thing is going to work at all. But there's also that moment early on as well where she has this weird sort of vision of an old white-haired woman with a kid in a parking lot. And it comes up a little bit later where it's part of her dream.
Yeah.
But then like it kind of comes up again later. So it's that was just like a red herring.
It read that way to me. I'll be a little more blunt about it. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Because she says somewhat early on that it's teenagers fucking around with the occult that killed her kid.
Yeah.
So then seeing this kind of, you know, this crone with the child just feels spooky to be spooky instead of
Right.
actually playing it. Because I have the same complaint, and we'll get to it, about the way the third act closes, where I think a lot of the kind of the beauty of this film and the way that it like structures its narrative just gets thrown out of the window and go, oh, look at spooky shit. And we're going to cut real quick.
Yeah. And I do think that it's already effectively set a tone with the kind of withholding of information and just like the soundtrack that varies between being ominous or just a symphony tuning up.
I never got to didn't like, but I'm there with you, where that orchestral warm up noise, which is eerie and enjoy, but sometimes they did overdo it.
Yeah, it's just they leaned on it a little hard, I thought.
Yeah, so she's got mental health issues and doesn't admit to it, and basically that's the setup. They get to this house that they rented in the middle of of Nowhereville.
Yeah, he tells her all this stuff she needs to like buy all this like 8 months worth of food. The setup is that she will cook and clean, he'll do nothing.
Yes.
Which again sort of leads to that, like, what is this guy just like an asshole? And because he's always yelling at her, always. But again, in that like samurai master way, where it's just like, do you actually want this?
Well, that's what I think. That's the part of this movie I really like is how tightly they walk that line, because there's a part where. I guess I don't want to give that away quite yet, but there's a part where he is just genuinely an asshole. Where it's like, I think that scene is ill thought out for the rest of the movie. I think this movie makes two major mistakes. It's that scene, which we'll get to shortly, and the end of the third act, where it's just like, nah.
Yeah.
But so she goes, buys all the food, and they go to the house, and they're like, all right, look, last chance. We cannot leave until this, ritual's complete. You sure you're cool? She's cool. They put a salt circle around the house, seal it up. Now, here's my problem with this, and this is nothing to do with the movie. My problem with religion. Come on, man, it's a rainy environment. That salt is not going to last 8 months. Literally, there was clouds behind them.
Yeah.
Like salt, it's like it famously mixes with water. Very well.
Yeah.
That's all I can think about, which is probably why nothing I've ever done in the ritual world has ever done anything.
Yeah, I didn't. Honestly, I never thought about it, but that's a very good point. But it's magic salt. We'll just go with that.
Yeah, fine. All right, perfect.
What I also like, so leading up to this, he has given her shit about like, oh, you just looked up stuff online, huh? Like, you don't know how to really do it. You need someone to help you out. You just look stuff up online. And then he mentions, he's like, well, before we do this, I need a computer with internet access.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just looking up stuff online.
Yeah.
And then what an asshole, he's printing in color at like this hotel. Like, what an asshole.
Yeah.
He's just stealing all. I mean, I don't care about the hotel's ink, but I'm just like, oh, that's a nice touch about like, he's printing these huge, like illuminated texts all in color because he's a huge dick.
Yeah, that's wasteful. So they lock themselves in, and he does that whole "Are you pure?" thing, and they have to purify more by he gives her like a semi-poisonous mushroom so she can vomit out stuff, and that's kind of setting the tone for when the rituals really start. And then they do, I think, the laziest bit of writing: a bird falling from the sky is a signifier of weirdness. What a fucking dick writer would do that?
Well, it's not so much a bird falling from the sky as much as it is a bird thrown against a window.
Yeah. Well, I just make fun of my own book, which has that exact scene in it. But
no, that's some hacky shit.
Yeah, fucking hack job.
Available on Amazon.
Exactly. Alexx Bone, spelled with 2 X's.
No, but I do like that bit where he's giving her the poisonous mushroom. She's like, "Is this going to be terrible?" He's like, "Absolutely." Like, there's just. That he doesn't he doesn't mince words about it.
Yeah, it's really nice.
And it is, and I also just like that he is this schlubby dope. This man has apparently touched the infinite, has communed with gods, and he's just like wearing the dumbest bucket hat and ill-fitting glasses, and I love it. Yeah,
if you ever see those like old ritual, like if you ever see Aleister Crowley at the end of it, like towards the end of his life, he looks like W.C. Fields. Like he's just he looks like Uncle Fester. He's just this fat, gross dude. Yeah.
But it's also just this idea, because he even says later in talking about some of the stuff he's done, is like, we're all like, most of us are damned. No, it's just this like, no, I've seen it. None of this shit matters. I don't care. I don't need to wear the cape anymore.
One of his descriptions too, which I really love, and it was trying to sound poetic, I think, but I mean, in a way that guy would try to sound poetic. He's like, I've talked to demons, I've blah blah blah, I've had silver rain down on me, and it's just like, really, silver rain down? Like, it's just, I mean, I get it. It probably sounds pretty cool in your head, and I think that's why they wrote it that way. But it's like, ooh, but look at Mr. La-Di-Da.
Well, it's also revealed that as they're prepping that he's like he's DTing, because he's like, I abuse alcohol, and I do it to for the rituals to achieve an altered state. Yeah, that's it. That's the ticket.
Yeah, that was kind of fun too.
Yeah, but so the ritual starts, and he gives this, and he immediately is wearing this like goofy ass outfit. yellow bandana and like this sort of I don't even.
Oh yeah,
he's
got like Iron Fist bandana on. Yeah, and these blue robes. It's really, really awkward and kind of beautiful.
Like he looks like he should be selling you crystals. But he starts explaining the rituals and how like there's these magic squares and the circles or whatever, and it's all very tactical, whatever. But it does sort of have this sort of like gearing up scene kind of feel to it, or like here's how the heist is going to work. And it basically just boils down to the next few months are going to be awful for her. She has to do a lot of nonsense.
Yeah, as a weirdo, I did enjoy them doing the setup of like, all right, this circle represents this represents this room is going to be your, and it doesn't pay off at all, which kind of annoys me because there's a lot of setup there. And you do see some weird shit at the end, but it doesn't equate to the stuff he talks about in the beginning, which maybe that goes back to how much of this is real, how much is bullshit, that sort of thing. I was like, man, we spent a lot of time talking on this. One, we didn't see a single magic square being used. Like,
I don't even know what that is. So I assume
it's basically a cult Sudoku. Like you have to add all the things together in diagonals up and down, left and right, and the numbers also mean letters, and you can have the name of God and blah blah blah. It's horseshit. But I mean, it's wonderful ritual magic, and everybody should respect everybody's beliefs.
But I do like that the house was chosen because it's a particular location, and that the way the rooms are sort of set up, that he's like, yeah, this is the room where like you sit in this triangle to recenter yourself before you go back into the other room to do that, or like this is the room of dead things. You got to take out all your desires here or something, then go back into the circles. And then like you see her start doing these rituals, and it's like stare at the stone for 3 days and don't eat. And no water, no bathroom breaks, whatever. Just sit in a circle and stare at the stone. Center yourself, and I'll be back later. And the movie does a pretty good job of letting that time pass without it feeling like a montage. But at the same time, it also kind of gets bogged down in that a little bit. As much as I like the actual like doing the ceremony thing, there's a little bit of repetition in that I understand is the point, because he talks repeatedly about how it's a cycle. We'll do this, and then we'll go back and we'll do it again. But some of it, you just feel kind of stuck a little bit in that it doesn't, perhaps in a shorter movie, this would have worked a little bit better.
They should have either put a point on it that she feels stuck and this feels like a slog for her, but they didn't do it enough to make it feel like this was purposeful. So it just felt like the editing was a little like kind of,
well, sort of what it was is since you only have these two actors, and so much of it sort of rests on their emotional sort of well-being and their relationship. It's too much of the same stuff is repeated, with her being like, this isn't working. Yes, it's going to work. This isn't working. Yes, it's going to work.
And there's too much cutting back in the ritual stuff. There's too much cutting back to her just being in a room, just kind of sitting there looking at a wall.
Yeah.
Where it's like, this is supposed to be devotional for like 8 months straight. It seems like you've got a lot of downtime to just kind of look at a wall.
There was a little bit, it took a long time for me to realize how much time had actually passed.
Yeah, they didn't do a good job of that, of showing how long things are taking, except for there's one scene where they kind of talk about that they don't know what month it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, they don't show like how wearying it is on them, where like she looks like towards not all the way at the end, but like, kind of like mid-second act, she looks just as fresh as the day she walked in.
And like she's being punished. There's a whole thing where she's sitting underneath this pyramid and he's dumping cold water on her. It is torture.
Yeah. It's not like it made it seem easy. But it kind of made it seem easy. Like I don't want cold water thrown at me. I don't want to hang out with weird Irish Paul Giamatti. Like none of this seems great.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like this is the biggest ordeal, because this is supposed to be like the hardest fucking ordeal you can go through. So you can literally meet one of God's friends and ask a favor of him. Yeah.
And so when some of these later blow-ups happen, it feels not as strongly, I think, as it could.
Yeah,
that she's driven to this point.
Now, this is a movie I didn't enjoy, but I think the comparison's strong too. What's it? 120? The movie about the guy that gets his hand stuck in the rock while he's
127 hours.
127 hours, where they do a really great job in that movie showing him like physically and mentally being worn down so much to the point, spoiler alert for anybody that somehow doesn't know this, that he has to chop his own fucking hand off to get out. But they do a really good job of wearing him down, like, visually, so it makes sense. Well, in this one, yeah, it's just not so effective. Though that water scene I love, because she's sitting on a flower of life, which is another, it's part of sacred geometry. And it's small, but for my world, I'm like, ooh, what a cool detail to put in there. Like, yeah, that's of course what you'd be on.
Well, I was thinking about how detailed those circles are that
Yeah.
I'm like, how long did those take to draw? But
No, they did a good job. The only thing that I found annoying, and it's about the spot of the film, is where he's drawing in Japanese characters.
oh, where he's writing Dragon Ball Z transcripts on her back?
Exactly.
Yes.
All of these things are based on kind of Renaissance magic or like Abrahamic, kind of old school Jewish tradition. And then having him writing Japanese stuff, that it really jumped out at me as like in the 1980s, somebody having a bandana with the rising sun in the middle, like where it's like, really? That's
Well, it's like, well, this is just for the rubes, right? That don't know.
Yes, I guess. Yeah. I don't know, because at this point I'm convinced he knows his stuff. So that it's just awkward. But this is about where the other thing that happens around now is her son's toy keeps disappearing.
Yes, there's this weird little goblin holding a club that she brings with her, and that apparently was his favorite toy. And yeah, it goes missing. And there's also this picture of her and her son that by this point, I believe, she has torn herself out of.
Yes.
But yeah, the toy goes missing. Yeah,
which is an interesting thing here, which again, I can't strike it enough that a tiny little plastic toy in a written work that signifies weird things happening. Yeah. I know. No one's going to get this, but this is me referencing shit that I've done in my own book. And I find it funny because boy, there's a lot of stuff in here. Like some of the ritual stuff in here is mimicked in Periphery. Like some of the like little, I'm not going to go
available on Amazon.
But there's literally, because I think whoever was writing this movie read a lot of the same shit I did and just went, well, if I use this, it's going to settle out. And it's funny right. just because of like, it's like game recognized game kind of thing. It's like, oh yeah, I probably read that book too. And it's just funny
but I love in this sequence too. And I don't know when this exactly has happened, but like, so you get them doing this rituals and then them hanging out a little bit, which I sort of like, again, in this sort of like, it's this whole long term thing. And it's not all just sacred. Like the mundane that's thrown in there too, where they're just like hanging out talking. And she's talking about some dream she's had where she sees like her family dead, like corpses on the beach and her son being held by one with white hair. And he's like, yeah, no, dreams are kind of a thing. But he's like, I have this recurring dream where I have a moped and that's it.
Yeah,
that's like, he's like, imagine like everything I've seen. That's my dream is that I own a moped. Yeah. And they have a big laugh about that. And I thought that was it was a very humanizing moment between the two of them.
And the timing of that is good as well, because this is where the kind of major him being an asshole part happens. So this is, I think, this and what happens at the end of the third act is my major two, like very big gripes with the film. So he basically tells her to put on some makeup, take her clothes off, and he jerks off.
Right. Well, he tells her at the beginning that there's going to be some sex magic involved.
Yes.
And then,
and she says, this isn't sex magic. And he's like, basically, hey, look, you promised to be pure. I didn't. I'm just a man. I needed to come.
Yeah, I needed to pull a Louis C.K. on you because I need to be pure.
And that, I don't think that fits his character. Like,
well, here, my issue with it is that if this, I know that like it's because part of his blow up a little bit later is that she needs to be that she's the conduit. It's not about him. It's about her.
Yes.
But he's involved in this ritual too, and he needs to do the detoxing and all this stuff. So that weird, no, I can lie and I can be impure. Again, like it reads weird, but it's also, I see what you're saying, but it's this little bit of like, is he a charlatan or is he actually doing anything?
Yeah, that's too much. I mean, that's sexual assault. Like,
yeah, no, it is.
That's so like him being an ass, like, either he's an ass as the master samurai guy, as we referenced earlier, like Kill Bill. But the guy from Kill Bill, didn't fuck Uma Thurman.
Right.
Like, that's a step too far. And I think that it's no longer walking that tightrope anymore. Now it's literally, he's just a bad guy. There's no play there. And they could have done it in a way that he fakes it being like, in an obvious this isn't sex magic, but at least it guides the sex magic way.
Right.
Like creepy yoga teacher style.
Yeah. Well,
instead of just being straight, because it doesn't.
Because like if he lied to her already about it, and I don't want to help this guy jerk off in front of women, but if he's already lying about it, why?
No, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Is it doesn't work with the character. I could see him, if he is a charlatan, he would trick her into getting him off. Mm-hmm. If he's legit, he wouldn't do the jerking off in front of her thing.
Right. But I mean, he's a super, like, demanding to be called Mr. Solomon.
But
like, it's a whole weird thing.
But it feels like it's like 2 steps. It feels like someone that's been like, that's been busted for stealing packs of gum, robbing a bank. Yeah, I mean, I guess technically you were a criminal and you did another, but it's just like the jump there, and that reads really, I think that that fucks the tone of the movie. And I mean, that's it. It's just I think that's a bad choice of the writer. Yeah.
You kind of have to, in order to fit the narrative, I mean, the whole thing, because you can't be too realistic about it, because, like, he couldn't have her dress as Sonic, which is the only way anyone can get off. But it does, for a movie that's kind of stuck in the same mode for a lot, it does escalate things. Not in a way that I particularly enjoy, but it does escalate things that, like, okay, well, now she's stuck. Apparently, if he's right in this ritual that, like, she can't leave because otherwise they'll be stuck here forever, or, like, they've opened doors to who knows. Oh, and he's a fucking sexual assault man.
But you could get away with it if the next scene is her trying to leave the house. Because there's a scene, and just to go out of order, there's a scene where she does leave the house, runs away because her car doesn't start, and ends up back at the house. And it's like, oh, fuck, I'm actually trapped here.
Yeah.
If they had kind of, not necessarily done the exact same scene, but done a scene like that after the sexual assault, where there's some kind of realization of this is real, that might work a little bit better. And then kind of take the kind of onus of how awful this is off of, not take it off of him. Like, obviously, he's a fucking creepo. Yeah, it reads wrong. I disagree with the narrative choice.
Right. And then instead of her leaving, you get a scene of her feeding him pee. She pees in a cup and then pours it into his stew. That's like the very next scene.
You know what's funny is I didn't pick up that's what happened.
Yeah, that's what happens. Like she pees in this cup, and you see her dump it in the stew, and then she's like, "Serve yourself," and walks out.
Oh, I didn't even realize that was pee.
Yeah, but then it's just
then they're even.
Yeah, exactly. But then it's like forgotten about, or is it? Because there's certain things in this the whole ritual, much like that, where it's like where you went on about lying and this purity, whatever, where I can't help but wonder, is this actually affecting the ritual in a negative way? You know, am I watching someone that's actually not very good at their job screw stuff up? As we talked about in different movies before, about how, like, this is someone that's not good at their job, but, like, so is her feeding him pee, is that helping things? You know?
I was thinking the other way. It's that as much as he's kind of the heel in the piece, is that she's the one that's fucking the ritual up because she's not admitting things to him.
Yeah. So,
and that's I think an interesting dynamic too, where it's like, well, she's the one fucking stuff up. Yeah, it's an interesting way, the way they play it, and also how he's kind of although right the entire time, he's also, it kind of ends up being wrong.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and so it leads to eventually this scene, and it's interesting because they've touched on this before, because she's asked him if he does black magic, and he says, you don't go to the fair without riding some of the rides, or something to that effect. Where when I forget how she reveals it, but they're like in the kitchen, and she says something about like what her intentions are, something like that. And he's like, you are lying to me, and freaks out, starts throwing dishes because they're so far into the ritual now. And he's like, this is what you've been lying to me this whole time, your intentions.
Well, because she says it's so, she originally parsed it as, I just want to see my boy again. I love him. And then she admits that she wants vengeance. She wants to kill the fox that. And there's also a subplot that we haven't touched on of that he may have been involved in the death of her child.
So I never got that.
He asks, he goes, you don't think I'm involved, do you?
Yeah.
Now, the fact that they put a point on it, he is a working occultist in the area. I mean, I'm not saying like,
no, I see what you're saying.
It's not intimated there, but there is a throughput, a through line in that, and that if you read it that way, it could, or at least him being representative of that,
right? Because
he does come out wrong on the other side, and they also bring the fact he does black magic,
right? And then there's a few names get tossed around early on about like other people she's talked to or whatever. Yes. So there's a cabal of people, but
Kabbalah,
sure. But he freaks out on her. Actually, before we get to that, she's also fucked up because during one of the things, she's like, no, I don't do forgiveness. I just don't do it. And he's like, what? And she's like, no, I don't do forgiveness. Can you work? You worked on other things. Can you work on this? And he's like, yeah, it's going to suck though. So he makes her drink his blood.
Yeah.
That's one where it shows maybe how tired she is, because she's like, I don't want to drink this. There's disease. She's like, shut up and drink it. Look, it's starting to congeal. And she drinks it and starts to kind of rest. She's like, no, don't throw it up. Keep it down. And then she does. And then he's like, well, drink it. And it's, oh no, it turns out that was a fantasy or something. She needs to.
That was a cool scene. I like that.
Yeah, no, it was a neat scene. But then like, there's not more of that.
Yeah.
Of her kind of losing touch or whatever, because they don't really start making, for lack of a better word, contact with these other realms until later on. She finds like a flower in a hallway.
Yeah, well,
once.
I mean the missing toy,
The missing
flower,
toy, yeah, the flower,
the bird hitting the window.
And at one point, she's in some circle and stuff is kind of like gold or something is raining down on her. But then she's still yelling about how it's not working because she still hasn't talked to the guardian angel. But that's when she starts having one of her several freakouts about it not working. That's when he finds out that she's not in this for love, that she wants vengeance. And he's like, "You're doing this for me. You're doing this so that I don't think bad of you. It needs to be about you. You need to be driven with this. This needs to be, a singular focus." So the way that he figures out to get around this, and then again, I liked how this was done, because again, it's this sort of, is he a charlatan sort of thing where he's drinking again. He has brought in a bottle of booze, and it's him in his room drinking, and then he goes to her room. And he's like, "All right, I got this. And then proceeds to drown her in a bathtub. And it's like he's reading a ritual, and he's like, "Oh, let her kiss the void, drown." And it's a really creepy scene, and I think very effectively done. But then he brings her back, and she's not thrilled, weirdly enough.
Well, so here, another weird pacing thing here is she's in a circle and has gold rain down upon her.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next scene is her freaking out saying it's not fucking working.
Yeah.
You just had gold.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, the thing that this guy was just earlier, the better metal up, because he had silver rain down. She had gold rain down. And then the next scene, she's flipping out that it didn't work. Either way, I like the drowning scene. She comes back. Really fun little moment. And then they have another argument. Like, "Hey, I can't believe you did this." And this is where the kitchen scene happens.
The kitchen happens, which we should probably mention this before we get in, too much into this, that beyond the money, she has also promised him that when she summons the guardian angel to ask her favor, he can ask a favor as well.
Oh, yeah, they're supposed to each get one.
Yeah,
yes.
and it's revealed that his favor is he wants to be invisible. If he just wants to be invisible, he wants to, he says it somewhat poetically or something, but just like take a break from the world before he has to go.
Yeah, just live out the rest of his life in anonymity.
Yeah, like to just not have to worry about shit, which I thought was kind of interesting for someone that's apparently has seen and done so much stuff, to kind of be like, "Nah, I don't want to deal with anybody."
Also, it's revealed later that he's kind of lying about that.
Is it?
Well, because because when he's in a bad way later, he says, "I just miss my fucking sister," which I think the point was that at the end of the ritual, he would actually be asking about his sister, not the
could be,
or maybe I just overread into that.
No, I mean that's perfectly legitimate. But I also wonder if the bit where later she encounters an invisible person, if that's him. Even though he's not dead yet, and he's like in a bad way, like so basically. So they have this argument.
That's a good read. Yeah, I like it.
So they have this argument in the kitchen, and again, about "Oh my God, you fucking drowned me." Well, we had to do it. We had to purify you, and you got to believe in this. And she kind of shoves him, and he ends up falling back and falling on a knife.
Which is, I'm sure it could happen, but that seemed...
It was really convenient.
Yeah,
it was, yeah.
That's a tough angle for me to get my head around.
As someone whose anxiety is such that we just had to fix our freezer. So there are some tools on the ground, and there's a ratchet set, and there's a screwdriver sitting kind of on top of it, but it's sort of down in the handle of the container of the ratchet set, sort of at an angle, up against the wall. No one's going to run into anything, but I immediately have the thought of someone tripping and falling face first into this slightly pointed up screwdriver.
Yes.
So I immediately pick up the screwdriver and move it. So for me, I get it. Yeah. No, that could totally happen. But realistically, no.
Yeah, absolutely not. It's a weird angle.
Yeah. But yeah, so he gets sort of stabbed through the side, and he's like, "Yeah, it's fine. We'll deal with it." Knowing full well he can't leave. He even says at the beginning, in an emergency, can't go. She's like, "I'm going to carry on the ritual." He even says see, it's working. Somehow me getting stabbed means the ritual.
Yeah, he's like, "This is the payment we have to make."
Oh yeah, this is the payment for our rage, I think is what he says. Sure enough, he's deteriorating, and they're doing the ritual. He's kind of losing a little bit. He's like, "I forget if this is 9 things or is it 12? No, it's 9. It's 9. It's got to be 9. And she's in her room, or in a room, studying, reading the books. And you keep seeing these pictures of I'm assuming demons with stuff painted on them or whatever, because they cut back to those a few times in the books.
Yeah, they look like, I don't know what the paint is, but when Aboriginal Australians have that white, white, it's like that. It's kind of referential to that, of that kind of white painted kind of otherworldly sense. Cause they're just humans. It's not demon-y demons,
Right.
especially just humans with some quicklime on them or whatever the hell. Yeah.
But so she starts like hearing this kind of noise, and she looks up, and in this like leather chair, there's a figure there smoking. And
one of the better scenes of the film.
Yeah, and as she gets closer to it and kind of shines a light, it's just a coat on the. There's no figure there at all. But interesting point: the cigarette it was smoking had a filter.
Yes,
which is that not
none
his.
of them. Yeah, because both of them were shown rolling cigarettes.
Yeah, so it might not be him being invisible. I don't know, but certainly he had mentioned other dimensions have kind of noticed them or something. So stuff might be happening.
Yeah,
but also by this time she's talked to her son.
Yes, her son. So she hears the dog and her son, and she walks down the hallway, and this door is rattling, and her son's saying like, "Mommy, I'm doing a scary British voice, Mommy. Everything's disturbing, and this is gonna be." And they might as well start doing like fucking creepy, fucking nursery rhymes.
Come play with us.
Yeah, she's like, "I know it's not you," sort of thing. So this is some kind of demon trying to trick her.
Yeah.
Thing.
Well, because it's because the kid's like, "Open the door, Mommy," and you hear this
There's a big
dog.
Yeah. The dog's eating me, Mommy.
Yeah, and he starts like it's getting increasingly like, "You gotta open the door," but she doesn't. She holds strong and lets that baby die.
Yeah, which is the real hero's journey.
Mm-hmm.
They say first it's call to action, then it's refusing the call, and then it's watching a child be eaten by a dog. Yeah,
call to action to ignore baby.
Yeah,
refusing to answer the call to ignore baby.
So
ignoring the baby.
This is about where he dies, right?
He dies. She eventually goes into his room, and he also called the one room with the bed, and kind of gets in the bed with him, and he's shivering, and mentions that he just fucking misses his sister. And then cut to him being dead in the morning and her just kind of standing over him.
Well, okay, ish.
Sure.
Because there's a later scene where it seems like he wasn't dead, that he had crawled out of bed. Because she comes back from her walk and he's lying on the bottom of the steps. So this is where like kind of what happens in reality of the film starts to break down. I guess we can't really go in order. So he's dead. She freaks out, crosses the salt boundary. Her car won't start. She walks for ages. She sees her house and goes, "Oh God, please, someone be home. Someone be home. For the love of God, someone be home." And then realizes it's the house she left, that she's been walking away from for a while. Cool scene. Goes back in. Now, when she walks back in the house, there's bloody handprints on the walls. And he's lying dead on the bottom of the steps, or just lying on the bottom of the steps. I think what we're meant to read here, or because this film is trying to have two narratives at any given moment. Is he bullshit? Is it real? That sort of thing. Where now that he's gone, the two narratives are, is it madness or did the ritual work? Because later in the film, she has her finger chopped off, bleeding immensely. But before that happens, there's bloody handprints on the wall. So where would that come from? Unless we're watching this kind of out of order sequence, like she's mad. She's wandering around the house, basically slapping her dumb fingerless hand on the walls. He murdered him or threw him down the steps or whatever.
Well, see, I took it more as sort of like, so when she gets back in the house, she sees what could be her son. She's a small boy holding hands with this horrible demon lady. They're encountering these, I'll just call them demons, but they're people painted white, with quicklime or ash or whatever you want to call it. And
quicklime's fine with me.
But so when a guy knocks her out with a club, much like the toy, and she wakes up in this basement kind of thing with all these creepy guys down there.
I mean, but before that,
no, but my point is that so they bothered to drag him down to the basement.
Yeah.
So there's no telling what these things actually want. So there could be something where they had moved him previously. I don't know. It's supposed to be just creepy and weird.
No, but what I mean is the read of it is that unless you're saying, not you're saying, unless the movie wants us to say with 100% certainty that this is real, that there's a paranormal thing happening, because the rest of the movie is read as there's two different stories going on. So the end of the movie is either she's fully mad and all this is in her head. The other narrative is that it's actual demons dragging bodies around.
By that point, I had given in and said, "No, it's real."
Oh, see, I still kept the dual narrative going, because you think about him being stabbed and being
it always, because it's so much of a personal journey for her. I mean, that's what this whole ritual is about. So there's no reason that can't be the read.
Yeah.
But just for the narrative of the movie, I went, no, it's fine. These are demons and they're real. Whether or not this is like a Jacob's Ladder personal demons thing or like demons
Yeah.
in the world, they were real enough for the story to work for me.
Well, the idea of the actual ritual is what you're meant to do in the course of it, like in the real, in heavy quotes, ritual, is that you're summon demons that represent your attachments and your kind of the things you're carrying around. So you would summon an anxiety demon,
Sure.
and then
Yeah.
and then you would best that anxiety demon,
Mhm.
and then you'd then I would do a depression demon, I would do an anxiety
Right.
demon, I would do a I'm fat demon. I do like the idea is that you're defeating the demons that have weight on you, and then
Mhm.
when you're defeated enough of them, you get to meet your guardian angel. And that's sort of the represent. I think that's what those things are supposed to represent.
Essentially, that kind of happens because
Yeah.
as they're like, she's trying to escape because they cut off her fingers with, and as much as this is set up, like this one demon approaches her with dragging something behind him, which immediately I'm thinking of Silent Hill 2 and Pyramid Head.
I'm there,
and then
with
it's just some garden shears, and it's like, well, this is supposed to be some like otherworldly thing. Couldn't you have like rusted them up or something? But it just looked like someone went to Home Depot and whatever.
Yeah.
Minor art direction point, but a thing that I didn't like. Cuts off her finger. She starts to escape, and they're like dragging her. She's almost to the top of the stairs. Oh, the demons got her, and they're dragging her. And she just says, "I'm sorry." Starts crying and says, "I'm sorry," and then the light at the top of the stairs starts glowing. Yeah. So I think it is some of that personal demon stuff where it's again, you could argue whether this is just in her head or whatever, but it is her overcoming these things that are weighing down on her.
Well, so, I mean, which works with the ritual, and it's one of those, whether it's real or not real. It's the same as all magic, as, whether it's internal, external. But one of the things I question, and I'm not going to rewatch the movie just to do this, but at one point, you brought it up that he was confused between 9 and 12 times something has to happen. Yeah. And she had repeated, "I'm so sorry," a bunch of times. And I'm wondering if the time that the light appeared was either on the 9th or the 12th time she said, "I'm so sorry."
That's interesting. Yeah. I don't think you need to go back, but that's an interesting like icing on the cake.
Yeah. Because a lot of the movie does kind of pay off to the earlier stuff. And it's weird that, it is showing that he's deteriorating, but it would be interesting if that was what happened there.
With one exception. And I'm going to be you here for a moment.
Oh, please do.
So let's say that it is him being invisible.
God, you're so handsome.
Thank you. He never got his moped. Why set up that he wants a moped if he never's going to get a moped?
Now, John, what you missed is it's the dream of the moped that was important, not the moped itself.
Being too literal.
Yeah, it's always it's always that thing of like is it the journey or the destination?
Yeah. Is it finding that moped in all of us?
Exactly.
Okay.
That's the Aberbellin ritual.
So she gets to the top of the stairs, and sure enough, there's her guardian angel.
We need to talk about that angel.
I got beefs.
Why don't you go first?
Mainly, it boils down to this: the fucking helmet. That's all it boils down to me, because it's supposed to be this kind of like, and it's this giant angel that's in the middle of the whole ritual circle, and it's huge, and it's dressed in kind of sort of armor kind of thing, resting on a sword. It's on its knees.
Standard angel clothes.
Yeah, resting on a sword, and it's wearing this helmet that's kind of like a Hermes. No, is that the Greek god?
Or with the little wings.
With the little wings, but then and then a nose guard thing. But the way it's resting on its head as he's looking at her looks like it doesn't fit.
Yeah.
And that he's an idiot. And so I love the idea of calling your guardian angel. He's like, yep, what couldn't it do for you? But it's for being this all powerful, like this is the thing we're waiting for. It was this little, it looks like this, huh? And it was laughable how dumb he looked to me.
I agree with what you're saying, but I'm taking it a little bit further in that don't show a giant angel. Show radiant light with maybe a vague angelic shape, like the opposite of the shadow figure we saw smoking cigarettes.
Right.
Have a 12-foot tall radiance with maybe a figure inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
But having just
a guy.
It's hilariously bad.
Yeah. I
sort of like the eyeball effect they did.
The eyeball effect was neat. Yeah, these glowing eyes. And then when the angel talks, it's just bass, and you just hear this, and that's cool.
That was well done.
That was really neat. But yeah, I kind of agree with you. Make it more of a figure thing, but it's also interesting, and to me, and you would perhaps have a better read on this. And I know it's Gnosticism and all that, but that essentially doing all this occult magic, that the answer is, in a way, is Christianity. In the sense of like just like beg forgiveness for your sins, and then boom, you're good.
Yeah. Well, the Gnostic thing is there was Gnostic Christianity.
No, I know that.
Yeah. There's a lot of ritual stuff. So a lot of this ritual stuff came out in the Renaissance where you kind of still had to be Christian. So there's a lot of weird,
I've played Assassin's too. I think I know a little something about the Renaissance. Leonardo da Vinci invented a flying machine that I used to go kill the Pope.
You're thinking of Hudson Hawk.
Oh, sorry. I get those two confused.
Anyway, we've got exactly Would You Like to Swing in a Star left on the show. That is a sweet Hudson Hawk reference.
I'll take your word for it.
Have you never seen Hudson Hawk?
No, we've talked about this.
Honestly, it might be something to do on the show. It's so fucking bananas. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, so the Renaissance stuff it's this weird thing where they're like plumbing the depths of like the subconscious and the weirdness of like the peripheral realities and like the oddness of everything, but also you kind of still had to be Christian. So like there's this weird overlap where it's like the most badass occult strangeness, but we're trying to find angels, you know? She says, and I do like this as a character beat, but I don't think it's good enough for the end of the film where she goes,
yes.
I would like the power to forgive.
That is what she asked the favor. She's in awe of this angel, and she's like, the favor I want is I want to be able to forgive. Read a Deepak Chopra book. Exactly. Like it just, I understand it's this personal journey and she's learned something from it, but it just was like, oh, that felt there was something just hollow about it where not they were go like, okay, please murder some teens. That didn't feel like that would have fit there. That end. Yeah, but it's just like give me the power to forgive. It's okay. I don't know. I don't know what I wanted there, but it wasn't.
Here's what I would have liked better: either heal my friend, that being Solomon, or heal my friend's sister, or, bring my friend's sister, something that
turn my friend into a moped.
Yeah, perfect. But something that pays off her, because that would also pay off the forgiveness thing, because he was the scumbucket to her, but he'd pay off forgiveness that way. You don't have to kill anybody, but I thought that was hollow, because there's a thing with magic where magic is literally the hardest way to do something, is how it works. So like, as a magician, the best way to get a lot of money is to go to school and get your bachelor's of finance and then learn how to make money. Because that is infinitely easier than trying to manipulate the universe. And
right.
It's fundamentally the hardest thing possible. So if you did this,
you could have just gone to therapy.
Yeah, exactly. Go to a fucking therapist. You fucking loop. Not to take away from what she went through. I can't even imagine losing a child. Right. However, you're not the first one to have it. There's trained professionals that can you're not going to feel great, but there's people that are out there to help you. You have $80,000 readily available. You can afford a good therapist.
Yeah. Which got, for his earlier thing, it's like, you just want to do this to find love. That's dumb. This doesn't seem any less dumb.
Real dumb.
But it also now I want to watch The Sopranos, but Tony Soprano going through this whole ritual instead of going to therapy, it's him doing occult rituals.
You have no idea how much I wish I could do an Italian accent. Be like, Uriel to my north.
Yeah.
I don't like
Janish Abduni Abramelin.
Yay! I want to forget about forgiven. Forgive about it. I hate the demons in the basement. The angel, I think, is poorly done.
The demon, I mean, it's where the low budgetness of this really shines.
I think I'd heard it a lot.
The demons in the drawings.
They're like cool.
Like, oh, cool. And then it's like, nah, it's a dude in a loincloth.
Yeah, it's a dude in a loincloth with some quick lime.
It's kind of like, Inception, where it's like you have this power to create anything you want in a dream. Oh, it's the dreams are dudes shooting other dudes.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what we're doing.
Buildings go sideways.
Yeah. All right. But it just felt limiting. And the angel, it just, for what it wants to be, it just is a thud. The
angel's thud, the demons in the basement chopping off her fingers is stupid because nobody else down there is missing fingers, which is a small gripe. It's just, why such a specific action where there's nothing earlier in the film to reference that?
Right.
It just, that
even because that's such a specific accent, like if you just kind of generalized it where they're like being menacing or like about to do something, but even just chopping off a hand would have been less of like
slicing a chunk out of her arms, something. But just the finger, it just seems like it's a reference to something that we didn't get earlier. And the next part that I very much dislike is she wraps up Solomon's body in tarpaulin and wades it out into like the marsh in front of the house. One, it sinks randomly, which bothers me because physics. But two, what the fuck? What Barry? Like what?
I'm sure it's what he would have wanted.
It's just what a douche.
I miss my sister. Yeah, that sucks.
Funeral
Dunk.
pyre. Yeah, I just what a dick thing. Yeah, I don't know. That just really that red. Leave him in the house. Also, why do you have to hide the body? Like. Fuck! Oh God! Yeah, that really the third act of this film. Really,
well, I mean, the house is in her name. You don't want a dead guy in your house.
Oh yeah, no. So just readily, just something floating in there. Oh, weird. We've had a dead body wrapped up in tarp. I wonder who did it. Oh, you mean the one person that's lived in this house for the past 2 years?
But he might not. That might not have even happened in this realm.
Yeah, it's true. Or just light him on fire.
Well,
like fires exist.
And then it ends with her driving away. And in theory, coming to terms with something. But again, that didn't really read to me. Because she doesn't seem like relieved by anything. She still seems troubled. And I just I was left feeling, was any of this worth it? And not in a way where I'm like, oh, that was the point of the movie. It was like, it just feels, okay.
I love the first two acts. And I just don't think the third act really paid off. And I think a lot of that is budget.
Yeah.
That I think he probably could have paid it off a little bit better if he could have afforded, like, I don't really know what they would do, but I just feel like maybe if like there was a better hell sequence, it wouldn't sit so.
Killer clowns from outer space actually being involved.
That'd be fine.
Yeah.
But just having, because honestly, Killer Clowns from Outer Space had a better look and budget to it. Like,
they're terrifying.
Yeah. But like being in that basement, like maybe if that was like a cool, like hellish, like an actual thing, we wouldn't feel like, because it seems like somebody painted up their friends and went in a basement somewhere and filmed it.
Yeah.
And it feels like, oh no, the menacing finger being chopped off.
Yeah. For apparently being at the lowest, it just doesn't. Yeah, I mean, like yes, this person's in danger, but it just like I'm supposed to be in another dimension, and it's just painted up people. Like this doesn't feel as gratifying.
And the whole point of the ritual is you're supposed to be kind of fighting them as you go. Mm-hmm. So just having them all show up at once in the kind of like a haunted hayride style,
right?
Isn't it? Which sucks because I think what really gets my goat about this, what really gets boffs my Baphomet is I really like the first two acts, and it's like, movie, you're better than this. I know you are.
Yeah, it felt like what I remember Donnie Darko kind of feeling like, where you're like, oh, okay, like it was this lead up, and then it's like, oh, that's how we're ending this, huh? It's just that it just doesn't land right.
Yeah, I have that memory of that movie as well, but
then I went back and watched Donnie Darko again, and I didn't even finish it because I didn't like it. But,
oh, really?
Yeah,
I probably haven't seen it since. Oh man, probably 2004. Like, I mean, it's been a really long time.
We did Southland Tales. We should do the other movie by this guy.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I want to watch that movie.
No, me neither.
Yeah,
we could.
Yeah, but let's just use Southland Tales again.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's the movie.
That's the Dark Zone.
Well, I can't think of a better way to follow up a low-budget Irish horror occult movie than with a giant bloated mess that features a drums-playing octopus. That's right.
The Little Mermaid.
A different giant bloated mess featuring an octopus that plays the drums.
My Left Foot.
A different bloated mess that features an octopus that plays the drums that isn't Yogi's Fantastic Treasure Hunt. That's right. We are watching Aquaman. Aquaman. Starring Jason Momoa.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that played Jango Fett.
Oh.
That lady, I forgot her name. And that other lady, I forgot her name.
Stars all.
And Dolph Lundgren.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
And he is awesome in it.
Is he a dolphin?
No,
that's a missed opportunity.
I can't get it. It's almost as good, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So people that are listening, the very few people who are listening, let's break this down. One, rarely do I watch this movie. It is just for the sheer dumbness of it. Two, I have a Patreon. Patreon.com/Alexx Bowen. I'll put a link in the show notes. There's going to be, there's already a bunch of John and Alex stuff on there. By a bunch, I mean, it's basically a couple of times John and I did warm-ups before the show, and they're funny. But there's going to be a full Patreon episode for Six String Samurai, the 1998 classic that John and I are going to talk about. And it's going to be on there for you guys to listen to. So you should listen to that by going to Patreon. And it's like, I think you have to do $5 a month, but you only have to do it once. And then you can just listen to everything and then cancel. So you don't actually have to like do like monthly.
Here's how to rob me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't, I feel uncomfortable making people spend
I
money.
understand. Yeah.
Yeah. So there it is. Six String Samurai.
I've heard the
Patreon.
episode. I understand that feeling.
Yes. So do that. Oh, and also rate, review, subscribe, do all the things other podcasts tell you to do.
Yes.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.